When Vanessa Mitchell sends an email to her high school boyfriend Michael Jordan on their 40th graduation anniversary, she never expects a reply. After all, he's now the most famous basketball player in history, a billionaire and owner of the Charlotte Hornets. But 3 weeks later, her phone dings with a message that will change everything. Michael wants to meet for coffee, and he has something important to ask her. Something that will shock not just Vanessa, but everyone in their hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina. What begins as a simple reconnection becomes an unexpected journey that brings their shared past full circle in ways neither could have imagined. Vanessa Mitchell's fingers hovered over her phone screen. Outside her kitchen window, the North Carolina sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. At 58, Vanessa had learned to appreciate these quiet moments. Her husband, David, was working late at his construction company, and her 2 grown children had their own lives now. Jason, her son, lived in Raleigh with his wife, and Kira was finishing medical school in Chapel Hill. Today was special. Exactly 40 years since she'd walked across the stage at Emsley A. Laney High School in Wilmington to get her diploma. 40 years since she'd worn that blue cap and gown, since she'd hugged her friends goodbye, since she'd promised to keep in touch with everyone, including him. Vanessa took a sip of her tea and opened her photo album app. She had spent the weekend scanning old pictures for her upcoming high school reunion. Most made her smile. Girls with big hair and bright makeup, boys with awkward mustaches trying to look cool. But one photo made her heart beat faster. She and a tall, skinny boy at the Spring Fling dance of 1982. His arm was draped casually around her shoulders. They were both smiling so wide it almost hurt to look at now. Michael Jordan, before he was Air Jordan, before the Chicago Bulls and 6 NBA championships, before he became a billionaire and owner of the Charlotte Hornets. Back then, he was just Mike. Her Mike. "Stop being silly," Vanessa whispered to herself, setting down her phone. That was a lifetime ago. But was it? Sometimes it felt like yesterday, when she would sit in the bleachers, watching him practice jump shots for hours after everyone else had gone home. She could still hear the steady bounce of the basketball, still see the determination in his eyes when Coach Pop Herring cut him from varsity their sophomore year. "I'm gonna show him," Michael had told her, wiping sweat from his forehead. "I'm gonna show everybody." And he had. Boy, had he ever. Vanessa picked up her phone again and opened her email app. She'd looked up the contact information for the Jordan Brand corporate office earlier that day, half convinced she would never use it. What would she even say after all these years? Would he remember her? Would he care? She began typing, "To whom? It may concern. My name is Vanessa Mitchell, formerly Vanessa Carter. I was a classmate of Michael Jordan's at Laney High School in Wilmington, North Carolina. We graduated together in 1982. She paused, her thumbs hovering over the screen. This was crazy. Celebrities like Michael probably got thousands of messages from people claiming to know them back when. Why would her email be any different? But something inside her couldn't let it go. Maybe it was the milestone anniversary of their graduation. Maybe it was the recent news that Michael had donated $10 million to build medical clinics in their hometown. Or maybe it was simply that, at 58, Vanessa had learned that life was too short for what-ifs. She continued typing, "I'm not expecting this message to reach Michael. I understand he's an incredibly busy man with countless demands on his time, but on the off chance that it does, I wanted to reach out on the 40th anniversary of our graduation. We dated during our senior year, before Michael left for UNC. We lost touch after that, which is natural when people go separate ways. I've followed his incredible career from afar, and have always been proud of what he accomplished. I'm still in Wilmington, working as a counselor at our old high school. It's funny how life comes full circle sometimes. I help kids figure out their dreams now, just like we were trying to figure out ours back then. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to say hello, to congratulate him on all he's achieved, and to thank him for the memories of a special time in both our lives. If this somehow reaches Michael, he might remember me as Nessa, the only person who ever called me that. With warm regards, Vanessa Mitchell. She read it over 3 times, her finger hovering over the send button. Was this pathetic? Was she just some middle-aged woman chasing ghosts from her past? What would David think if he knew? Vanessa glanced at the framed family photo on her kitchen wall. Her with David, Jason, and Kira at the beach last summer. She had a good life, a happy life. She wasn't reaching out to Michael because she was unhappy or wanted something from him. She just wanted closure on a chapter that had ended too abruptly. The kitchen clock ticked loudly. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked. Vanessa took a deep breath and hit send before she could change her mind. "Well, that's that," she said to the empty kitchen, setting her phone down like it had suddenly become hot to the touch. What were the chances Michael would ever see it? Practically zero. His people probably had people who sorted through messages. Her email would likely end up in some assistant's deleted folder. And that was fine. The important thing was that she'd said what she needed to say. Vanessa stood up and carried her empty teacup to the sink. As she rinsed it out, she found herself humming the old Laney High School song. Funny how some things stuck with you over the years. The sound of the garage door opening announced David's arrival home. Vanessa quickly dried her hands and closed the photo album app on her phone. Her little trip down memory lane was over. Time to get back to real life. "Hey, honey," David called as he came through the door, setting his lunch cooler on the counter. At 60, he still worked as hard as men half his age. "How was your day?" "Good," Vanessa said, kissing him on the cheek. "Just quiet. Thinking about the reunion next month." "Find any embarrassing photos of me yet?" he asked with a grin. David had transferred to Laney their senior year, which was how they'd met. They'd reconnected years later at a community fundraiser, long after her relationship with Michael had faded into memory. "Not yet, but I'll keep looking," she teased. As they moved around the kitchen preparing dinner together, Vanessa felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Whatever happened, whether her email disappeared into the digital void or somehow, miraculously, reached Michael Jordan himself, she had made peace with her past. She had no way of knowing that 3 weeks later her phone would ding with a reply that would change everything. 3 weeks passed, and Vanessa had nearly forgotten about the email. Nearly. Every morning, she still checked her inbox before getting ready for work. Every notification on her phone still made her heart skip a beat. But as the days went by, the little flame of hope inside her grew dimmer. What had she expected? Really? On a rainy Tuesday in June, Vanessa was in her office at Laney High School. The hallways were quiet now that summer break had started. She was organizing student files when her phone buzzed on the desk. Probably David asking about dinner plans, she thought. But when she glanced at the screen, she froze. The email notification showed a sender she never expected to see. mjordan@jumpman23.com. "No way," she whispered, her hands suddenly shaky. For a moment, she just stared at the notification, afraid to open it. What if it was just an automated response? Or worse, what if it was rude? Taking a deep breath, Vanessa tapped the screen. The email was short. "Nessa, it's been a long time. I'm in Charlotte next week. If you want to meet for coffee, let me know." MJ Vanessa. Read it 3 times before the reality sank in. He had called her Nessa. Only Michael had ever called her that. This wasn't from some assistant. It was from him. She set the phone down and looked around her small office at Laney High. The walls were covered with college pennants and motivational posters. "Your future starts here," one of them proclaimed. How strange that her past and future seemed to be colliding in this moment. As the shock wore off, memories flooded back. Memories she had tucked away for decades. October 1980, 15-year-old. Vanessa Carter hurried down the hallway of Laney High, her arm full of books threatening to spill. Sophomore year was turning out to be much harder than freshman year, especially with her new advanced math class. "Heads up!" someone shouted, but the warning came too late. A basketball whizzed past her head, missing by inches, and her books went flying as she ducked. Papers scattered across the freshly waxed floor. "I am so sorry," a boy's voice said, and suddenly he was there, helping gather her books. He was tall, really tall, with hands that seemed too big for his skinny arms. "It's okay," Vanessa mumbled, embarrassed by the attention from other students passing by. "I'm Mike," the boy said, handing her the last notebook. "Mike Jordan." "I know who you are," Vanessa replied. Everyone at Laney knew who Michael Jordan was, but not for the reasons they would later. Back then, he was just known as the junior who'd been cut from the varsity basketball team. Coach Pop Herring had decided Michael wasn't ready yet. Michael smiled, revealing a gap between his front teeth that made him look younger than 16. "And you're Vanessa Carter. You won the science fair last year." She was surprised he knew that. "Yeah, that was me. Well, sorry again about almost hitting you." Michael picked up his basketball, tucking it under his arm. "I gotta get to practice." "JV practice?" Vanessa asked, immediately regretting how it sounded. But Michael didn't seem offended. "For now," he said with a confidence that surprised her. But not for long. As he jogged away, Vanessa didn't know she had just met the boy who would become the greatest basketball player of all time. A week after their hallway collision, Vanessa was walking home when she passed the outdoor basketball court near her neighborhood. A steady thumping sound caught her attention. Despite the chilly October air, a lone figure was shooting baskets over and over. It was Michael Jordan, wearing only shorts and a t-shirt, even though his breath made little clouds in the cool air. Vanessa stopped to watch. For nearly 20 minutes, he repeated the same move. Dribble, fake, jump shot. Dribble, fake, jump shot. Over and over until his shirt was soaked with sweat. Vanessa had never seen anyone practice so hard. Something about his determination made her stay and watch. Eventually, Michael noticed her. "Spying on me?" he called out, but his smile took any sting out of the words. "Just wondering why you're out here freezing instead of at home watching TV. Like everyone else," she replied. Michael walked over, spinning the ball on his finger. "Coach Herring says I'm not ready for varsity. Says I need to grow more." He shrugged. "Can't make myself grow faster, but I can make myself better." "Does it bother you? Getting cut?" "Every single day," he admitted. "But it'll feel that much better when I prove him wrong." They talked until the sun started to set. Michael told her about his family. His parents, James and Dolores, who worked at GE and a local bank. His older brother, Larry, who everyone thought was the real basketball star. His sister, Roslyn, who was the smartest one in the family. Vanessa told him about her dreams of becoming a teacher someday. After that day, Vanessa often stopped by the court on her way home. Sometimes they just talked while Michael practiced. Sometimes they walked to McDonald's for French fries afterward. It wasn't exactly dating, but it was something. By spring of their junior year, Michael had grown 2 inches and made varsity. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be his friend, especially after he scored 35 points in his first varsity game. But he still saved a seat for Vanessa at lunch, still walked her home sometimes. Their first real date was at Jubilee Park, the local carnival that came through Wilmington every April. Michael won a blue teddy bear at the ring toss and gave it to Vanessa, even though she knew he'd probably wanted to keep it for himself. "I've never had a real girlfriend before," he admitted as they shared a cotton candy. "I'm not sure I know how to do this right." "There's no right way," Vanessa told him. "We just figure it out as we go." And they did, through the summer before, senior year, and into autumn, when scouts started showing up at Michael's games. When a UNC scout came to watch, Michael scored 42 points and couldn't stop grinning afterward. "That's where I'm going," he told Vanessa that night as they sat on her front porch swing. "Chapel Hill. Coach Smith is the best there is." "It's only 2 hours from Wilmington," Vanessa said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Michael took her hand, his much larger one completely enveloping hers. "We'll make it work. You'll see." Vanessa believed him. At 17, with her whole life ahead of her, why wouldn't she? The office phone rang, jolting Vanessa back to the present. She was no longer that starry-eyed 17-year-old girl. And Michael Jordan was no longer that skinny boy with something to prove. They were different people now. But somehow, across 40 years and countless life changes, he had remembered her. Had remembered Nessa. Vanessa picked up her cell phone and hit reply. "Michael, coffee sounds great. Just tell me when and where." Nessa sending the reply felt like stepping off a cliff. But as she returned to her work, Vanessa realized she was smiling. Whatever happened next, at least she would have an ending to the story that had started so long ago on a high school basketball court. That evening, Vanessa sat with David on their back porch, watching fireflies blink in the gathering darkness. She hadn't told him about Michael's email yet. How could she explain something she barely understood herself? "You've been quiet tonight," David said, reaching over to take her hand. After 32 years of marriage, he could read her moods like a favorite book. Vanessa took a deep breath. "I got an email today. From Michael Jordan." David's eyebrows shot up. "The Michael Jordan? Your Michael Jordan?" "He was never really my Michael Jordan," Vanessa corrected, though her heart fluttered at the phrase. "But yes, that Michael Jordan?" She showed him the brief exchange on her phone. David read it twice, his expression thoughtful. "Are you going to meet him?" he finally asked. "I think so. Is that okay with you?" David squeezed her hand. "Honey, it's Michael Jordan. I'd meet him myself if he asked." His joke broke the tension, and they both laughed. "Seriously, though, you should go. You've always wondered what happened. Maybe it's time to find out." His understanding made Vanessa love him even more. As she leaned her head on his shoulder, her mind drifted back to another night, long ago. February 1982 senior year was flying by. Michael had become a star, averaging over 25 points per game. Scouts from colleges all over the country came to watch him play, though everyone knew he was headed to UNC. Coach Dean Smith himself had come to Wilmington to watch Michael dominate a rivalry game against New Hanover High. After that game, where Michael scored 42 points, he took Vanessa to Whitey's restaurant, their favorite spot in town. Mr. and Mrs. Jordan were there too, along with a few teammates. Dolores Jordan made sure Vanessa had extra pickles on her burger, just how she liked it. "My baby played good tonight," James Jordan said, clapping Michael on the shoulder. "Could have had 50 if Coach hadn't taken me out," Michael replied, but his smile showed he was joking. Mostly. Later, Michael drove Vanessa to Wrightsville Beach in his old Chevy. It was too cold to swim, but they walked along the shore anyway. The February moon was full, turning the waves silver as they crashed onto the sand. "I got my UNC acceptance letter today," Vanessa said, breaking the comfortable silence between them. Michael stopped walking. "You're going to Chapel Hill?" His face broke into a wide grin. "That's amazing, Nessa! Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "I wanted to be sure," she said. "I got accepted to NC State, too, and it's a little cheaper. But UNC is better, and we'll be together." Michael's voice held such certainty that Vanessa couldn't help but believe him. "You know what this means? We can see each other all the time. You can come to my games. This is perfect." They sat on a driftwood log, huddled close against the chilly wind coming off the Atlantic. Above them, stars glittered in the clear winter sky. "I've been thinking," Michael said, suddenly serious. "About us. About next year." Vanessa felt her heart speed up. They rarely talked about the future. It seemed too big, too uncertain. "I know things will be different at Carolina," he continued. "I'll have basketball. You'll have your classes. But I don't want to lose you, Nessa." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his class ring. The gold gleamed in the moonlight, with Laney High and 1982 visible on its face. "My dad gave me this last week. Said I earned it." Michael turned the ring in his fingers. "I want you to have it." "Michael, I can't take your class ring. Your parents already know I'm giving it to you. Mom said it was about time." Gently, he slipped the ring onto her finger. It was much too big, but Vanessa closed her hand around it, feeling its weight. "This means something, Nessa. I've never given anybody anything like this before." His dark eyes were intense, reflecting the moonlight. "No matter what happens next year, with basketball, with college, this is a promise. You and me, we'll figure it out together." Vanessa felt tears in her eyes, though she couldn't have explained why. "I promise too," she whispered. Michael kissed her then, softly at first, then with a passion that took her breath away. When they finally broke apart, they were both trembling, and not from the cold. "We should get back," Michael said reluctantly. "Your dad's going to kill me if I get you home after curfew again." As they walked back to the car hand in hand, Vanessa felt like her heart might burst with happiness. The future stretched before them, bright with possibility. She had no way of knowing how quickly things would change. May 1982, the end of seniority. Year was a whirlwind. Michael signed his official letter of intent to play basketball at UNC on a full scholarship. Vanessa accepted her own, smaller scholarship to the same university. The future they had planned was taking shape. But as graduation approached, Michael grew busier. Coach Smith had him on a summer workout program. There were basketball camps to attend, special training sessions. Sometimes days would pass when Vanessa barely saw him except in the hallways at school. "He's going to be a big star," Dolores Jordan told Vanessa when she stopped by their house one evening, hoping to catch Michael. "But he needs to focus right now. You understand, don't you, honey?" Vanessa nodded, though a knot of worry was growing in her stomach. She twisted Michael's class ring, which she wore on a chain around her neck. It felt heavier somehow. On prom night, Michael showed up at her door with a corsage of pink roses that matched her dress perfectly. For a few magical hours, it felt like everything was back to normal. They danced, they laughed with friends, they were voted couple most likely to stay together in the silly superlatives announced at midnight. "See?" Michael whispered as they slow danced to "Always on My Mind" by Willie Nelson. "Nothing's changed, But as he held her close, Vanessa couldn't ignore the feeling that everything was about to change. She clung to him a little tighter, trying to memorize the moment. The softness of his tuxedo under her cheek, the faint scent of his cologne, the steady beat of his heart against hers. Later that night, after Michael dropped her off with a goodnight kiss, Vanessa stood in front of her bedroom mirror. She touched the class ring hanging around her neck, remembering his promise on the beach. "You and me, we'll figure it out together." She wanted desperately to believe it was still true. Vanessa's phone buzzed, pulling her back to the present. David had gone inside, leaving her alone with the fireflies and her memories. The text was from Michael, an address in Charlotte, and a time. Next Tuesday, 2 p.m. 5 simple words at the end. "Looking forward to seeing you." Vanessa tucked the phone away and looked up at the night sky. The same stars that had witnessed their promise 40 years ago now witnessed her stepping back into a past she thought was long buried. She was both terrified and exhilarated by what Tuesday might bring. The days until Tuesday crawled by. Vanessa found herself distracted at work, her mind constantly drifting to the upcoming meeting with Michael. What would they talk about after 40 years? Would it be awkward? What did he want on Monday night? She stood in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear. David watched from the doorway, amused. "You know this isn't a date, right?" he teased gently. "I know that," Vanessa said, flushing. "I just don't want to look like I'm trying too hard, or not trying at all." "Wear the blue dress," David suggested. "It brings out your eyes." Vanessa smiled gratefully at her husband. "You're pretty amazing, you know that?" "I've been told," he replied with a wink. "Now, get some sleep. You've got a big day tomorrow." But sleep didn't come easily. As Vanessa lay in bed, memories of the last time she saw Michael played through her mind like an old movie. September 1982, the UNC campus in Chapel Hill was beautiful in early fall. Red and gold leaves carpeted the paths between buildings, and the air had that perfect crispness that made sweaters comfortable but not necessary. Vanessa had been at college for 3 weeks, and she'd seen Michael exactly twice. Once at freshman orientation, where he was constantly surrounded by people who recognized him from the newspapers. And once for a quick lunch that lasted barely 30 minutes before he had to rush off to practice. Their phone calls had grown shorter too. Michael always sounded tired, distracted. Coach Smith was working the freshmen hard, he explained, and his classes were tougher than he expected. He promised things would get better once the season started, and they settled into a routine. Vanessa tried to be understanding. She was busy too, adjusting to college classes and making new friends in her dorm, but she missed him with an ache that never quite went away. When Michael finally invited her to a party at the basketball dorm, Vanessa spent hours getting ready. She wore her nicest outfit and Michael's class ring on its chain around her neck. The drive from her dorm to his took only 10 minutes, but it felt like crossing a great distance. The party was loud, crowded with athletes and pretty girls who all seemed to know each other. Michael spotted her from across the room and made his way over, giving her a quick hug. "You made it," he said, handing her a soda. "Come meet some people." He introduced her to his teammates, James Worthy, Sam Perkins, Matt Doherty, all names she would later hear on TV broadcasts. They were polite, but quickly returned to their conversations, leaving Vanessa feeling like an outsider. "How are your classes going?" Michael asked, filling the awkward silence. "Good. I really like my psychology professor." Vanessa tried to sound enthusiastic. "How about yours?" Michael shrugged. "They're okay. Coach says I need to focus more on my English class." A tall, beautiful girl in a Carolina cheerleading outfit waved at Michael from across the room. He waved back. "Who's that?" Vanessa asked, hating how insecure she sounded. "Just a girl from my study group." Michael seemed uncomfortable. "Listen, I have to talk to Coach Smith about something. Can you hang out for a bit? I'll be right back." But he wasn't right back. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. Vanessa stood awkwardly by the snack table checking her watch, feeling more out of place by the minute. When Michael finally reappeared, he was with a group of older students she didn't recognize. "Hey, I'm really sorry," he said, barely meeting her eyes. "Coach wants us to review some plays tonight. Team only." "Now?" Vanessa couldn't keep the hurt from her voice. "But I just got here." "I know, and I'm sorry. But this is important." He glanced at his teammates, who were watching them. "I'll call you tomorrow, okay?" Vanessa nodded, not trusting herself to speak. As she drove back to her dorm, tears blurred her vision. The class ring felt heavy against her skin, its promise seeming emptier by the day. By Thanksgiving, Vanessa had accepted what she'd been denying for months. She and Michael were over, even if neither had said the words. His phone calls had dwindled to once a week, then stopped altogether. When she called him, his roommate always said he was at practice or studying with teammates. The final blow came when she saw a newspaper photo of Michael at a campus event, his arm around the pretty cheerleader from the party. The caption identified her as Lisa Reynolds, a sophomore from Charlotte. That night, Vanessa took off the class ring for the first time since Michael had given it to her. She placed it in a small envelope, wrote his campus address on the front, and dropped it in a mailbox. Without a note, what was there to say? 2 weeks later, she watched on TV as Michael hit the game-winning shot in the NCAA championship game against Georgetown. As the Carolina players celebrated on the court, Vanessa felt strangely detached, as if she was watching a stranger. Tut, many ways, she was. The Michael Jordan, who was becoming a national sensation, bore little resemblance to the boy she had loved in Wilmington. At Christmas break, she ran into him at the mall in Wilmington. He was with his family, shopping for holiday gifts. They made awkward small talk for a few minutes, both pretending they were just old friends who had drifted apart naturally. "I'm transferring to UNC Wilmington next semester," Vanessa told him. "It makes more financial sense." Michael nodded. "That's smart. Chapel Hill's expensive." They didn't mention the ring. They didn't talk about what might have been. The unspoken words hung between them like a wall. "Well, good luck with basketball," Vanessa said finally. "Thanks. Good luck with everything." Michael seemed about to say more, but his mother called him from a nearby store. "I should go," he said. "It was good seeing you, Nessa." It was the last time she heard him call her that for 40 years. The drive to Charlotte took almost 4 hours with traffic. Vanessa left early Tuesday morning, telling herself it was to avoid being late. But really, it was because she couldn't stand the waiting anymore. She had chosen the blue dress, as David suggested. Her hair, now more gray than brown, was styled simply. She wore minimal makeup and no jewelry except her wedding ring. The address Michael had sent was for an upscale hotel in downtown Charlotte. As Vanessa pulled into the parking garage, her heart was pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. "This is ridiculous," she told herself in the elevator. "You're a grown woman, not a teenager." But the butterflies in her stomach disagreed. Security guard was waiting in the lobby. "Mrs. Mitchell?" he asked when she approached the front desk. Vanessa nodded, surprised. "Mr. Jordan is waiting for you. Please follow me." He led her through the lobby to a private elevator that required a keycard to operate. As they rode up, Vanessa took deep breaths, trying to calm her nerves. The elevator opened directly into a luxurious meeting room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Charlotte skyline. And there, standing by the window, was Michael Jordan. Older, broader, more confident than the boy she'd known, but unmistakably him. He turned as the doors opened, and for a moment, they just looked at each other across 40 years of silence. "Hello, Nessa," he said finally, his deep voice both familiar and strange. "It's been a long time," Vanessa found her voice. "Hello, Michael." "Yes, it has." And just like that, the past and present collided. "You look good," Michael said, gesturing to a seating area with comfortable chairs. "Please, sit down." Vanessa moved carefully across the room, feeling oddly formal. She chose a chair facing the windows, and Michael sat across from her. For a moment, neither spoke. It was strange, like meeting a familiar stranger. "Can I get you something to drink?" Michael asked. "Coffee? Water?" "Coffee would be nice," Vanessa said, grateful for the simple request that broke the tension. Michael pressed a button on the table, and almost immediately, a hotel staff member appeared with a tray of coffee, cream, and sugar. "I remember you take it with just a little cream," Michael said as the server poured their coffee. Vanessa was surprised. "You remember that after all these years?" Michael smiled, the familiar gap between his front teeth now fixed with perfect veneers. "I remember a lot of things." When they were alone again, Vanessa took a sip of her coffee, using the moment to study Michael. His hair was cropped short, his frame still powerful, though heavier than in his playing days. His eyes were the same, intense, focused, missing nothing. "So," she said, setting down her cup, "this is unexpected." Michael nodded. "For me too, actually. When I got your email..." He paused. "It brought back a lot of memories. Good ones, I hope." "Mostly good." His smile was genuine. "You were the first girl who believed in me, you know. Before anyone else did." Vanessa felt her cheeks warm. "That's not true. Your parents always believed in you." "That's different. Parents have to believe in you." Michael leaned forward slightly. "You didn't have to. You chose to." The conversation began to flow more naturally after that. They talked about Laney High, about Coach Pop Herring, who had passed away in 2019, about old hangouts in Wilmington that were gone now. Vanessa was relieved that it wasn't awkward, just two people reconnecting after a lifetime apart. "What about you?" Michael asked eventually. "Tell me about your life. Your email said you're still in Wilmington?" "Yes, I never left," Vanessa admitted. "I finished college at UNC Wilmington, got my teaching degree, then a master's in counseling. I've been working at Laney for almost 30 years now." "As a counselor?" "Yes. I help kids figure out college applications, career paths, sometimes just life problems," she smiled. "I love it, actually. Every year I get to see young people find their path." "You always were good at that," Michael said. "Seeing potential in people." Vanessa laughed softly. "Well, I was right about you, wasn't I?" Michael's expression turned thoughtful. "What about family? Kids?" "I married David Mitchell in 1988. Vanessa said. "He owns a construction company in Wilmington. We have 2 children. Jason is 34, works as an engineer in Raleigh. And Kira is 30, finishing her medical residency at UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill." "UNC Hospital?" Michael raised his eyebrows. "Full circle." "Yes, it's funny how life works that way." Vanessa hesitated, then asked, "And you? Your children must be grown now, too." Michael nodded. "Jeffrey is 36, Marcus is 34. My daughter Jasmine is 31. I have 4 grandchildren." "Now, if you can believe it, grandchildren?" Vanessa laughed. "That's hard to imagine." We're getting old, Michael. Speak for yourself, he joked, but his smile was warm. Their conversation continued, moving between past and present. Michael talked about his basketball career, his businesses, his divorce, his remarriage, his charity work. Vanessa shared stories about her students, her children's milestones, the changes in Wilmington over the decades. It struck Vanessa how parallel their lives had run, both raising children at the same time, both experiencing life's joys and disappointments, just in vastly different circumstances. While Michael was winning NBA championships and building a global brand, she was attending parent-teacher conferences and community fundraisers. Both lives had meaning, just different kinds. "Have you ever been to a Hornets game?" Michael asked, suddenly. "Since I bought the team, I mean." Vanessa shook her head. "No, actually. David got tickets for my birthday once, but She trailed off, embarrassed to admit the truth. "But what?" Michael prompted. "It sounds silly now, but I never wanted to see you play in person. Even after all these years, it just felt complicated." Michael was quiet for a moment. "I understand that," he said finally. "More than you might think." He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the Charlotte skyline. "Success is a funny thing, Nessa. You get everything you thought you wanted, but you lose things too. Privacy, normal friendships, connections to your past." He turned back to face her. "Do you know how few people in my life knew me before I was Michael Jordan? Really knew me, I mean. Not the basketball player, not the businessman, just the skinny kid from Wilmington who got cut from varsity." Vanessa understood then why he had wanted to meet. Not out of curiosity or politeness, but because she was a rare link to who he was before fame changed everything. "I've followed your career," she admitted. "Not in a weird way. Just, I was proud of you." Even after we lost touch, Michael came back to his seat. "I kept track of you too," he said quietly. "Through mutual friends in Wilmington. I knew when you got married, when you started working at Laney. I wanted to make sure you were okay." Vanessa was startled. "You did?" "Of course I did, Nessa." His voice was gentle. "You were important to me." The afternoon light was fading now, casting long shadows across the room. Vanessa realized they had been talking for hours. She glanced at her watch. "I should probably start heading back to Wilmington," she said reluctantly. "It's a long drive." Michael nodded. "Before you go, there's something I wanted to ask you." His expression turned serious. "The real reason I wanted to meet." Vanessa felt her heart skip a beat. "What is it?" "I'm working on a project in Wilmington," Michael said. "Something important. And I could use your help." "A project in Wilmington?" Vanessa repeated, curiosity replacing her thoughts of leaving. "What kind of project?" Michael leaned forward, his expression animated in a way it hadn't been before. "I've been thinking about giving back to the community where I grew up. Not just donations, but something lasting. Something that would really make a difference." "That sounds wonderful," Vanessa said sincerely. "I'm planning to build a youth center," Michael continued. "Not just a gym, but a place where kids can get academic help, career guidance, mentoring. Somewhere they can find their path, whether it's in sports or not." Vanessa nodded, immediately seeing the potential. "Wilmington needs something like that, especially in the neighborhoods around Laney." "Exactly." Michael's eyes lit up. "That's why I want your help. You know those kids. You understand what they need. I have the resources, but you have the knowledge." "Me?" Vanessa was genuinely surprised. "Surely there are experts, professional, consultants." "I have those," Michael said dismissively. "What I need is someone who cares about Wilmington. Someone who sees the potential in kids the way you always did." The request was unexpected, but Vanessa couldn't deny feeling a spark of excitement. Every day at school, she saw students with incredible potential held back by lack of resources or guidance. What could they achieve with the right support? "I'd need to think about it," she said carefully. "Talk to David. Figure out what kind of time commitment we're talking about." "Of course," Michael nodded. "I wouldn't expect an answer right away. But I'm serious about this, Nessa. And I'm serious about wanting your input." As the meeting wound down, they exchanged contact information. Real phone numbers this time, not emails through assistants. The awkwardness of their initial reunion had completely disappeared, replaced by the easy comfort of old friends reconnecting. At the elevator, Michael hesitated. "I'm glad you reached out," he said. "After all these years." "Me too," Vanessa replied. "Honestly." They hugged briefly, a simple gesture that somehow bridged the decades of silence between them. The drive home gave Vanessa plenty of time to think. The meeting with Michael kept replaying in her mind, not just his unexpected project proposal, but the whole surreal experience of sitting across from someone who had once meant everything to her. It was strange how the years had changed them, both, yet left something essential the same. Michael was still intensely focused, still believed he could accomplish anything he set his mind to. And she was still the quiet observer, the one who saw potential where others might miss it. What would working with him on this project mean? Could she balance it with her job at the school? What would people in Wilmington think? By the time Vanessa pulled into her driveway, it was past 9. The house lights were on, and she could see David waiting in the living room. As she turned off the engine, her phone buzzed with a text. It was from Michael. "Thanks for coming today. I meant what I said about the project. Think about it?" Vanessa smiled and typed back, "I will." It was, "Good seeing you." Inside, David greeted her with a hug and a glass of wine. "So, how was it meeting your high school sweetheart after 40 years? Vanessa laughed. "Surreal, but nice, actually." She kicked off her shoes and sank onto the couch. "He wants my help. With a project." David raised his eyebrows. "What kind of project?" "A youth center in Wilmington. He wants me to help plan the programs, maybe serve on the board." David whistled low. "Michael Jordan wants you on his team? That's pretty impressive, honey." "I haven't said yes," Vanessa pointed out. "It would be a big commitment, and it's not like I need another job. But you're considering it?" David knew her too well. Vanessa nodded slowly. "I think I am. Is that crazy?" David sat beside her, taking her hand. "Not crazy, just unexpected. Like getting an email from Michael Jordan after 40 years. The next morning, Vanessa woke early. David was still sleeping as she slipped out of bed and made coffee. The house was quiet, peaceful in the soft dawn light. She found herself thinking about Michael's project again. The idea had taken root in her mind, sprouting possibilities. In 30 years of counseling, she'd seen so many talented kids unable to reach their potential because they lacked resources or support. A center like Michael described could change that. Her phone rang, startling her from her thoughts. It was Kira, their daughter. "Mom? You're up early." "Just enjoying the quiet," Vanessa said. "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine. Dad texted me last night. Said you had an interesting day?" Kira's voice was carefully casual, but Vanessa could hear the curiosity. "Your father has a big mouth," Vanessa said, but she was smiling. "Yes, I met with Michael Jordan yesterday," Michael Jordan? Kira's attempt at casualness vanished. The Michael Jordan? The one from your high school pictures? The one you dated? That's the one. Mom, what was it like? Why did he want to meet? Did he recognize you? Does he look old now? Did you… Slow down, Vanessa laughed. One question at a time. Yes, he recognized me. Yes, we're both older now. It was nice, actually. We talked about old times, caught up on each other's lives. That's it? Kira sounded disappointed. Just small talk? Not exactly. Vanessa hesitated, then told her daughter about the youth center project. You have to do it, Kira said immediately. Mom, this is perfect for you. All those ideas you've always had for helping students, you could actually make them happen. With Michael Jordan's money behind you, it's not that simple, Vanessa protested, but she was warming to the idea more by the minute. I have my job at the school. You've been talking about retiring for years, Kira pointed out. This could be your second act, something new and exciting. After hanging up with Kira, Vanessa sat in the quiet kitchen thinking. Her daughter was right about one thing. She had been considering retirement. After 30 years of counseling, she still loved her job, but lately she'd been feeling ready for something different, something that might have an even bigger impact. By tea, the time David came downstairs, Vanessa had made her decision. I'm going to do it, she said, as he poured his coffee. The project with Michael. David smiled. I had a feeling you would. It sounds perfect for you. I'll need to work out the details with the school. Maybe reduce my hours this coming year. Train a replacement. You'll figure it out, David said confidently. You always do. Vanessa picked up her phone and typed a message to Michael. I'm in. Let's talk about next steps. His reply came almost immediately. Great news. I'll have my team set up a meeting. This is going to be something special, Nessa. Vanessa smiled at the use of her old nickname. It no longer felt strange hearing it from him. As she sipped her coffee and watched the sun rise over the trees in their backyard, Vanessa marveled at life's unexpected turns. 3 weeks ago, she'd sent an email on a whim, never expecting a TK reply. Now she was about to embark on a new project with someone she'd once thought lost to her past forever. Life has a funny way of circling back, she murmured to herself, and for the first time in years, she felt the thrill of a new beginning. 2 weeks later, Vanessa found herself driving to Wilmington's riverfront district. Michael's foundation had rented a conference room at the Port City Marina, a newly developed area that showcased how much Wilmington had changed over the years. She had spent the intervening time preparing. First, a long meeting with her principal at Laney High, who was surprisingly supportive of her splitting time between her counseling position and the new project. Then, hours of research on youth centers across the country, making notes about what worked and what didn't. She even drove around neighborhoods near their old high school, mentally cataloging empty lots or buildings that might work for the center. You're taking this very seriously, David had commented the night before as she organized her notes. It's Michael Jordan, Vanessa had replied. Everything he does is serious business. Now, as she parked her car at the marina, Vanessa felt a flutter of nerves. This wasn't just a reunion anymore. This was professional. Would Michael still value her input when it came to actually planning the center? Or was she just there for local perspective? A token nod to his Wilmington roots? The conference room overlooked the Cape Fear River, its wall of windows framing boats gliding past. When Vanessa entered, several people were already seated around a large table. She recognized Michael immediately, dressed in a crisp button-down shirt rather than the more casual clothes he'd worn in Charlotte. "Vanessa," he said, standing to greet her. Thank you for coming. He introduced her to the others. Estee, his foundation director. Marcus, his son who worked with the foundation. Patricia, an architect from Charlotte. And James, a community development specialist. Vanessa shook hands with each, trying not to feel intimidated by their impressive titles and sharp business attire. "We've been looking forward to having a local expert join the team," Estee said warmly. "Michael speaks very highly of you." Vanessa smiled, surprised. "Well, I'm excited to help however I can." Michael gestured for her to take the seat beside him. "Vanessa knows Wilmington better than anyone," he told the group, "especially the kids at Laney. She's been counseling them for 30 years. The meeting began with Estee presenting an overview of the Michael Jordan Foundation's previous projects: basketball courts in Chicago, medical clinics in Charlotte, scholarship programs at UNC. Vanessa was impressed by the scope and impact of the work. "For the Wilmington project," Estee continued, "we're thinking bigger, not just a recreation center, but a comprehensive youth development facility." Patricia, the architect, pulled up renderings on a large screen. "These are very preliminary," she cautioned, "but they'll give you an idea of what we're imagining." The pretty images showed a sleek modern building with both indoor and outdoor basketball courts, classrooms, computer labs, and community spaces. It was beautiful and impressive, and completely unlike anything in the neighborhoods near Laney. When Patricia finished, everyone turned to Vanessa expectantly. "It's a wonderful design," she began carefully. But it doesn't fit Wilmington," Michael finished for her, a knowing look in his eyes. Vanessa nodded, relieved he understood. "It looks like it belongs in Charlotte or Chicago. Wilmington has its own character, especially the neighborhoods where we grew up. This would feel imposed." Instead of being offended, Patricia looked intrigued. "Tell me more about that character. What would make it feel like it belongs?" For the next hour, Vanessa described the architectural styles of Wilmington, the historic homes downtown, the simple but dignified buildings of the historically black neighborhoods, the connection to the water and maritime history. As she spoke, Patricia sketched rapidly, occasionally asking questions or showing quick revisions. "This is exactly why we needed you here," Michael said during a break, as the others gathered around a side table with refreshments. "You understand what will work in Wilmington, what will make people feel welcome." "I'm just sharing what I know," Vanessa said. "But thank you for listening. Some organizations come in with everything already decided." Michael laughed. "I may be stubborn about a lot of things, but I know what I don't know. And I don't know Wilmington like I used to." When the meeting resumed, James presented data on youth needs in the area: academic support, career guidance, safe spaces after school. Vanessa added insights from her experience, describing the specific challenges her students faced. "College isn't the right path for everyone," she explained. "But good trade programs are hard to find. We have students with amazing mechanical or artistic skills who just need the right training and connections." Marcus, who had been quiet for most of the meeting, spoke up. "What if we included workshop spaces? Places where kids could learn practical skills, auto repair, carpentry, maybe even culinary arts." "That would be incredible," Vanessa said, thinking of several students who would thrive in such an environment. Michael nodded approvingly at his son. "I like that. Let's add it to the plans." By late afternoon, the project had evolved significantly. Patricia's sketches now showed a building that honored Wilmington's architectural heritage while providing all the modern facilities they needed. The programming had expanded to include both academic support and practical skill development. "This is a good start," Estee said, gathering her papers. "Vanessa, your input has been invaluable. Would you be willing to continue as a consultant as we move forward?" "Absolutely," Vanessa replied, surprised by how invested she already felt. In the project, as the meeting broke up, Michael asked Vanessa to stay behind. When they were alone, he leaned against the conference table, looking out at the river. "What do you think?" Honestly, Vanessa considered the question. "I think it could be transformative for the kids in Wilmington, if it's done right." "And you think we're on the right track?" "I do," she smiled. "Though I still have about 100 more ideas." Michael laughed. "I bet you do. You always were full of ideas." For a moment, they were silent, watching a sailboat pass by on the water. The late afternoon sun turned the river to gold, reminding Vanessa of other afternoons long ago, when they were young and the future seemed wide open. "Can I ask you something?" Vanessa said finally. "Why me? For this project, I mean. You could have worked with anyone in Wilmington." Michael was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was reflective. "Do you remember Coach Herring? How he cut me from varsity?" Vanessa nodded. Everyone knew that story. It was part of the Michael Jordan legend. "Everyone focuses on how that motivated me, how it made me work harder," Michael continued. "But what they don't talk about is what happened after. How Coach still believed in me, even after cutting me. He kept pushing me, kept seeing what I could become." He turned to look directly at Vanessa. "You were like that too. You saw something in me when I was just a skinny kid with a chip on his shoulder." "You weren't that hard to believe in, Michael," Vanessa said softly. "Your talent was pretty obvious. Maybe my basketball talent, but you saw more than that." His expression was serious. "You saw me as a person, not just a player. That mattered." Vanessa was touched by his words, by the thought that she had made even a small difference in his journey. "I want this center to be a place where kids feel seen," Michael continued. "Really seen for all their potential. Not just the athletes or the straight-A students, but all of them. You understand that better than anyone I know." The sincerity in his voice moved her. This wasn't about nostalgia or rekindling old memories. It was about creating something meaningful in the place that had shaped them both. "I'm honored to be part of it," Vanessa said. Truly. As they left the conference room together, their conversation shifted to more practical matters. Next steps, timelines, potential locations. But Vanessa carried Michael's words with her, understanding now why this project meant so much to both of them. That evening, as she drove home, Vanessa called David to share details of the meeting. "It sounds amazing," he said after listening to her excited recap. "They're lucky to have you." "I think I'm the lucky one," Vanessa replied. "How many people get a chance to do something like this?" "Well, not everyone dated Michael Jordan in high school," David teased. "But even if you hadn't, they would have found you. You're the best at what you do, honey." His unwavering support meant everything to her. "Have I told you lately that I love you?" she asked. "Yes, but I never get tired of hearing it." As Vanessa pulled into their driveway, she felt a deep sense of gratitude for her husband, who encouraged her to pursue this new opportunity, for her children who were excited for her, for the strange twist of fate that had brought Michael back into her life at exactly the right moment, and beneath it all, a growing excitement about what lay ahead. The youth center was no longer just Michael's project, it was becoming hers too, a chance to make a real difference in the community she loved. She had no way of knowing then how much more this project would come to mean, or the surprising revelation that still awaited her. Over the next month, Vanessa's life fell into a new rhythm. 3 days a week at Laney High, counseling students. 2 days working on the youth center project. Evenings spent reviewing plans, researching programs, and making notes on ideas that came to her at odd moments. Today was a project day. Vanessa sat in what had become their regular meeting space at the marina, waiting for Michael to arrive. The rest of the team was scattered around the country, joining by video, but Michael had made a point of being in Wilmington for as many meetings as possible. When he walked in, Vanessa immediately noticed something was different. Michael looked tired. The confident energy he usually radiated dimmed somehow. "Everything okay?" she asked as he set down his coffee. "Just some business issues," he said dismissively. "Nothing to worry about." But throughout the meeting, Vanessa could tell he wasn't fully present. He let Estee lead the discussion of potential locations for the center, only occasionally adding comments. When the meeting ended and the screens went dark, Vanessa expected Michael to leave right away. Instead, he remained seated, staring out. "At the river. Want to grab lunch?" she offered, surprising herself. "There's a good place just down the boardwalk." Michael seemed to consider it for a moment, then nodded. "Sure. Why not?" They walked in comfortable silence along the riverfront. The October day was perfect, sunny but cool, with a light breeze carrying the scent of salt water. At a small riverside restaurant, they were seated on an outdoor deck overlooking the water. "This is nice," Michael said, looking around. "I forget how beautiful Wilmington is." "It's changed a lot," Vanessa observed, "but the river's still the same." After they ordered, Michael seemed to relax a bit. He asked about Vanessa's work at the school, listening with genuine interest as she told him about some of her current students. "There's this one boy, Dion, who reminds me of you a little bit," she said. "Not in basketball. He's terrible at sports, actually. But he has that same stubbornness, that refusal to give up, no matter what." Michael smiled. "What's his thing?" "Robotics. The kid can build anything. But his grades were terrible when he first came to me. We've been working on that." "Is he improving?" "Slowly," Vanessa laughed. "Like I said, stubborn." Their food arrived, and for a while, they ate in comfortable silence. Vanessa found herself thinking how strange this was, having lunch with Michael, Jordan as if they were old friends catching up, which she supposed they were in a way. "Can I ask you something?" Michael said suddenly. "Something personal?" Vanessa nodded, curious. "Are you happy with how your life turned out?" The question caught her off guard. "Yes," she said after a moment. "I am. It's not a perfect life, but it's a good one. I love my family. I feel like my work matters. What more could I want?" Michael nodded, looking out at the water. "I wonder sometimes, about the road not taken." "You mean if you hadn't become a basketball player?" "No, not that." He shook his head. "Basketball was always my path. I mean the other things. Having a normal life. Privacy. Being able to walk down the street without being recognized." Vanessa understood then. "Is that what's bothering you today?" Michael was quiet for a long moment. "I had dinner with Jeffrey last night. My son," he clarified. "We got into an argument. He said some things about me not being around much when he was growing up, about always being Michael Jordan instead of just Dad." The pain in his voice was raw, surprising. This wasn't the confident, controlled Michael Jordan the world knew. "I'm sure he knows you love him," Vanessa said gently. "Yeah, but knowing and feeling are different things." Michael sighed. "The truth is, he's right. I missed a lot. Games, school events, normal father-son stuff. I was always traveling, always working, always focused on the next thing. You were building something extraordinary, Vanessa pointed out. That takes sacrifice. But was it worth the cost? Michael looked directly at her now. That's what I keep asking myself lately. Vanessa could see the genuine question in his eyes. Here was a man who had achieved everything he'd ever dreamed of. Fame, fortune, legendary status, yet was wondering if he'd made the right choices. I can't answer that for you, she said honestly. But I think most parents ask themselves that question sometimes. Famous or not, we all make trade-offs. We all have regrets. Even you? Michael seemed skeptical. Of course, Vanessa smiled sadly. I wish I'd traveled more when I was younger. I wish I'd been braver about certain things. I wish I'd spent less time worrying about what other people thought. She paused, considering whether to continue. And sometimes, I wonder what would have happened if I'd followed you to Chapel Hill that fall. If I'd fought harder for us. Michael looked surprised by her admission. You think that would have changed things? Probably not, Vanessa admitted. You were destined for greatness, Michael. I think we both knew that, even then. But we could have tried, he said softly. Maybe. But then I wouldn't have David, or Jason, or Kira, and you wouldn't have your children. We can't rewrite the past without erasing the present. Michael nodded slowly. You always did have a way of putting things in perspective. It's the counselor in me, Vanessa smiled. I've had a lot of practice helping teenagers sort through their regrets. And what do you tell them? That regret is only useful if it teaches you something. Otherwise, it's just pain with no purpose. They finished their lunch, the conversation shifting to lighter topics. Memories of mutual friends from high school, stories about their children's antics when they were young. By the time they walked back to the marina, Michael seemed more like himself again. At her car, he hesitated. Thanks for today, for listening. Anytime, Vanessa said, meaning it. That's what friends are for. Is that what we are now? Friends? There was a hint of vulnerability in the question. I'd like to think so, Vanessa replied. After all, who else can you talk to about what it was like to be cut from varsity basketball at Laney High? Michael laughed, a genuine laugh that erased the tension from his face. Not many people, that's for sure. As Vanessa drove home, she thought about their conversation. It was strange to see the other side of Michael's fame, the loneliness, the regrets, the human struggles behind the legendary status. She had always assumed his life was charmed, perfect in all the ways hers was ordinary. Now she understood that wasn't true. When she got home, she found David in the garage, tinkering, with his old motorcycle. How was the meeting? He asked, wiping grease from his hands. Good, Vanessa said. Educational. In what way? Vanessa considered how to explain it. I guess I always thought Michael had everything figured out, that his life was perfect, in a way, but he struggles with the same things everyone does. Regrets, wondering about paths not taken. David nodded thoughtfully. The grass always looks greener, doesn't it? Even when you're Michael Jordan. Exactly. Vanessa kissed her husband's cheek. For what it's worth, I don't have any regrets about the path I chose. The one that led to you. That night, as she prepared for bed, Vanessa's phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Thanks again for today. Been thinking about our conversation. You're right about regrets. Time to focus on what I can change, not what I can't. Starting with this youth center. Want to look at some potential locations tomorrow? Vanessa smiled as she texted back. Absolutely. Let's do it. As she set her phone down, she felt a deeper understanding of why this project mattered so much to Michael. It wasn't just about giving back to his hometown. It was about creating something meaningful from his regrets. A place where kids like his younger self could find guidance and support, where they could be seen for all their potential. And in that moment, the project took on new meaning for Vanessa, too. This wasn't just a professional opportunity or a chance to help her community. It was a way of healing old wounds, both Michael's and perhaps her own. The next few months flew by in a whirlwind of activity. After visiting several potential locations, they finally settled on a site just a few blocks from Laney High School, an abandoned community center that had closed due to lack of funding. The building needed extensive renovation, but the location was perfect. By January, architectural plans were finalized. The center would include 2 basketball courts, classrooms, computer labs, workshop spaces, and a community kitchen. The design honored Wilmington's architectural heritage while providing modern amenities that would serve the community for decades. Vanessa threw herself into planning the programs. She recruited teachers from Laney to develop tutoring services, connected with local businesses to create internship opportunities, and worked with technical colleges to establish certification programs in trades like automotive repair and construction. Michael was equally involved, flying to Wilmington at least twice a month. He seemed energized by the project, often calling Vanessa with new ideas at odd hours. Their friendship deepened through their shared vision, the awkwardness of their initial reunion long forgotten. On a cold February morning, Vanessa met Michael at the site to review construction progress. Though work had only begun a few weeks. Earlier, the building was already taking shape, with new walls framing what would become the main basketball court. "What do you think?" Michael asked as they walked through the skeleton of the building. "Can you see it coming together?" Vanessa nodded, mentally filling in the empty spaces with the vibrant center they had planned. "It's going to be amazing. Better than I imagined." They stopped in what would eventually be the main entrance hall. Sunlight streamed through the temporary plastic sheeting covering the windows, casting patterns on the concrete floor. "I've been thinking," Michael said, his voice echoing slightly in the empty space, "about what to call this place." "The Jordan Youth Center?" Vanessa suggested. "That seems obvious." Michael shook his head. "No, I don't want it to be about me." "But your foundation is funding it," Vanessa pointed out. "People will expect your name to be on it." "My name's already on enough things," Michael said with a small smile. "This needs to be about the kids, about the community, about the future, not the past." Vanessa nodded, understanding. Despite his fame, Michael had always been uncomfortable with too much attention on himself. It was one of the contradictions that made him who he was, a global icon who sometimes just wanted to be a regular person. "So, what were you thinking?" she asked. Michael hesitated, suddenly looking almost nervous. It was an expression Vanessa had rarely seen on his face, even when they were teenagers. "I was thinking," he said slowly, "about naming it after someone who's dedicated their life to helping kids. Someone who sees potential where others might miss it. Someone who believes in people before they believe in themselves." A construction worker called out to them from across the site, asking about an electrical plan. Michael excused himself to address the question, leaving Vanessa to ponder his words. Who was he thinking of? One of his former coaches? A teacher from Laney? When Michael returned, his expression was resolute, as if he'd made an important decision during those few minutes. "Away. Vanessa," he said, "I want to name the center after you." She stared at him, certain she'd misheard. "After me? Michael, that's ridiculous." "Why is it ridiculous?" He seemed genuinely puzzled by her reaction. "Because I'm nobody," Vanessa said. "This is your project, your money, your vision." "Our project," Michael corrected. "Our vision. And you're hardly nobody. You've spent 30 years helping kids find their path. That's exactly what this center is about. Vanessa shook her head, still processing. But people will expect. I mean, you're Michael Jordan. You're a legend. I'm just a school counselor. You've probably changed more lives than I have, Michael said quietly. Just in a different way. The sincerity in his voice left her speechless. For a moment, they stood in silence amid the construction noise, dust motes dancing in the sunbeams between them. Will you at least think about it? Michael asked finally. I'll think about it, Vanessa agreed, though she couldn't imagine agreeing. To such an honor. As they continued their tour of the site, Michael explained more of his reasoning. He didn't want the center to be seen as just another celebrity charity project. He wanted it to reflect the values that would guide its programs: dedication, service, belief in potential, values that, in his mind, Vanessa embodied. Besides, he added with that familiar competitive smile, nobody will expect it. And I still like surprising people. Later that afternoon, Vanessa sat in her office at Laney, trying to focus on student files. But her mind kept returning to Michael's unexpected proposal, the Vanessa Mitchell Youth Center. It seemed impossible, undeserved. A knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Dion, the robotics whiz she'd mentioned to Michael months ago. Ms. Mitchell? Got a minute? He asked, hovering in the doorway. Of course, Dion. Come in. Adile, lanky 16-year-old, handed her a paper, his latest report card. Vanessa scanned it quickly, noticing that his grades had improved significantly since the beginning of the year. This is great progress, she said. I'm especially impressed with your math grade. Dion shrugged, but she could see the pride behind his casual attitude. That tutor you found me helped a lot. And the thing you said about treating school like a game, figuring out how to beat the system, that made sense to me. I'm glad, Vanessa smiled, remembering how resistant he'd been initially. You've put in the work, and it shows. Yeah, well, Dion shifted uncomfortably. I wanted to say, thanks. My mom says I'm like a different kid this year. After he left, Vanessa sat thinking about their conversation. This was why she had become a counselor, to help students like Dion discover their potential and find their way. One kid at a time, one day at a time, without fanfare or recognition. But the youth center could multiply that impact exponentially. Instead of helping dozens of students each year, they could reach hundreds. Instead of being limited by school resources, they could offer programs and opportunities that Laney could never provide. The more Vanessa thought about it, the more she understood Michael's reasoning. The center wasn't about glorifying either of them. It was about creating a place where kids felt valued, where they could discover their strengths and build their futures. That evening, she discussed it with David over dinner. He wants to name it after me, she said, still finding the idea surreal. The Vanessa Mitchell Youth Center. David considered this, taking a sip of his wine. I think it's perfect, he said. Finally! You don't think it's, I don't know, presumptuous? Honey, you've spent your entire career helping kids find their way. If anyone deserves to have their name on a place like this, it's you. His unwavering support touched her deeply. What would people think, though? Everyone will wonder why it's not named after Michael. Let them wonder, David said simply. Michael Jordan knows what he's doing. He always has. Later that night, Vanessa texted Michael about the name. If you're really sure, then yes. But I have one condition. His reply came almost immediately. Name it! I want to be involved permanently, not just in planning, but in running the center once it's open. The 3 dots appeared. Then, I was hoping you'd say that. Consider it done. As Vanessa set her phone down, she felt a sense of purpose stronger than anything she'd experienced in years. This center would be her legacy, not just a name on a building, but a living testament to her belief in the potential of every child. What she didn't know was that Michael had one more surprise in store, a revelation that would bring their shared story full circle in a way she never could have imagined. With the center planning well underway, Vanessa finally took a weekend for herself. The project had consumed most of her free time for months, and she needed a break. David was away on a fishing trip with friends, so she had the house to herself. On Saturday morning, Vanessa decided to tackle a long-postponed task, cleaning out the attic. Among the dusty boxes and forgotten holiday decorations, she found a faded blue plastic storage bin marked High School. Sitting cross-legged on the attic floor, Vanessa lifted the lid. Inside were yearbooks, photographs, and mementos from her teenage years. She hadn't looked through these things in decades. The 1982 Laney High yearbook was on top. Vanessa opened it carefully, the binding cracking slightly. She flipped through the pages, smiling at the outdated hairstyles and fashion. There she was in the senior class section, her hair permed and feathered, a shy smile on her young face. A few pages over was Michael's senior photo. He looked so young, so unaware of the extraordinary life that awaited him. His quote beneath the photo read, "Limits, like fears, are often just an illusion." Vanessa continued through the yearbook, finding photos of them together, at the homecoming dance, at a school picnic, in a group shot of the student council. They looked happy, innocent, full of potential. Deeper in the box, Vanessa found a smaller container. Inside was a pressed corsage from prom, dried and brittle with age, a handful of movie ticket stubs, a mixtape Michael had made her, songs recorded from the radio, and, at the very bottom, a small velvet pouch she had almost forgotten about. Vanessa hesitated before opening it, knowing what was inside. She loosened the drawstring and tipped the contents into her palm. A delicate gold chain. The chain she had worn Michael's class ring on all those years ago. She had kept the chain, but returned the ring when they drifted apart that first year of college. It had seemed the right thing to do at the time. A clean break, a return of a promise that couldn't be kept. Holding the chain now, memories flooded back. Michael sliding the ring onto her finger at Wrightsville Beach. The weight of it against her skin as she wore it on the chain throughout senior year. The tearful night she had slipped it into an envelope and mailed it back to him at UNC. Vanessa closed her hand around the chain, surprised by the emotion that welled up. It wasn't regret, exactly. Her life had taken a beautiful path. A loving marriage, wonderful children, a career that mattered. But there was a bittersweetness to these reminders of her first love, of possibilities that had never been realized. After repacking the box, Vanessa decided to take a drive. Without really planning it, she found herself following familiar routes, through Wilmington, passing places that held memories of her youth. She drove by the McDonald's where she and Michael used to get French fries after school. Now remodeled and barely recognizable. She passed the movie theater where they had seen E.T. the summer before college. She drove slowly past Laney High School, quiet on the weekend, but still much as it had been 40 years ago. Without consciously choosing to, Vanessa found herself turning onto a side street near one of Wilmington's older neighborhoods. She parked beside a small park with a basketball court, the same court where she had first stopped to watch Michael practice all those years ago. The court was empty this morning. Vanessa got out of her car and walked over to the chain-link fence, surrounding it. The basketball hoops had been replaced, the surface repainted, but the court itself was the same. How many hours had Michael spent here, practicing the same moves over and over? How many afternoons had she spent watching him, admiring his determination? This humble court had been the starting point of an extraordinary journey. For him to basketball greatness, for her to a life of helping others find their path. As Vanessa stood there, memories playing through her mind like an old movie, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Michael. At the construction site. Found something I think you should see. Can you come by? Curious, Vanessa drove to the youth center. Construction had progressed significantly since her last visit. The exterior walls were complete, windows installed, and work on the interior was well underway. Michael was waiting outside, dressed casually in jeans and a Jordan brand sweatshirt. Despite his fame and fortune, there was still something of the Wilmington boy in him, especially here in their hometown. "Sorry to interrupt your weekend," he said as she approached, "but the contractors found something during demolition that I thought you'd find interesting." He led her inside, through areas that still smelled of fresh paint and sawdust. They made their way to what would become the main basketball court, where the old community center's floor had been partially removed. They were tearing up the old flooring and found another court underneath, Michael explained. Apparently, this place was built on top of an even older rec center from the 1970s. Vanessa looked where he was pointing. Beneath the damaged modern flooring was a glimpse of aged hardwood, painted lines faded but still visible. "Is that?" she began, a strange suspicion forming. Michael nodded. "The Jefferson Street Rec Center, where Coach Herring used to run basketball clinics, where I learned to play." Vanessa stared at the exposed section of ancient court, memories suddenly clicking into place. "I used to come here with my dad," she said softly. "He volunteered as a referee for the youth games." "I know," Michael said, watching her carefully. "That's why I wanted you to see it. We probably crossed paths here years before high school, without even knowing it." The thought was strangely moving, that their lives had intersected even earlier than they'd realized, in this very spot where they now stood planning a future for Wilmington's youth. "It feels like coming full circle," Vanessa said, kneeling to touch the old flooring. "Building something new on top of where it all began." "That's exactly what I thought," Michael agreed. "It's like this place was waiting for us to come back to it." As they stood looking at the unexpected discovery, Vanessa felt a deepening sense of purpose. This center wasn't just about giving back or making amends. It was about honoring origins, Michael's, hers, and the community's. "I think we should preserve a section of this," she suggested. "Make it visible somehow. A reminder of where things started." Michael nodded, clearly pleased with the idea. "A connection between past and future. I like that." They walked back outside together, discussing how to incorporate the old court into their plans. As they reached their cars, Michael paused. "There's something else I wanted to talk to you about," he said. "About the opening ceremony. I have an idea, but I wanted to run it by you first." Vanessa raised her eyebrows, curious. "What kind of idea?" "Something meaningful," Michael said. "Something that brings everything together." His expression held a hint of the same nervousness she'd seen when he proposed naming the center after her. Whatever this idea was, it clearly mattered to him deeply. "Tell me," she said simply. Michael shifted his weight from one foot to the other, reminding Vanessa of the teenage boy who had once asked her to the spring fling dance all those years ago. "I was thinking," he began, "that at the opening ceremony, I could show everyone why I wanted to name this place after you. Not just tell them, but show them." "How would you do that?" Vanessa asked, curious. Michael took a deep breath. "The class ring. I still have it." Vanessa stared at him, stunned. "You kept it? All these years?" He nodded. After you mailed it back, I put it in my desk drawer. I told myself I'd return it someday, when the time was right. And you think the opening ceremony is the right time? Vanessa was struggling to process this revelation. Michael had kept his class ring for 40 years after she'd returned it. I do, Michael said. Not as some romantic gesture. That's not what I'm saying, he added quickly. But as a symbol, that ring represented a promise of belief. You believed in me when it wasn't easy. That's what this center is about. Believing in kids, even especially when it's not easy. Vanessa was touched by the sentiment, though still overwhelmed by the news. What exactly did you have in mind? I thought I could talk about our history. Growing up in Wilmington, how you supported me during those early days. Then explain why the ring matters, what it symbolizes, and present it to the center. We could display it in a case in the entrance hall as a reminder of the center's founding principle, belief in potential. As Michael outlined his idea, Vanessa could see it clearly. The ring wouldn't be about their teenage romance, but about the larger legacy they were creating together. I think it's perfect, she said finally. Unexpected, personal, and meaningful. Relief showed on Michael's face. I wasn't sure if it would seem strange, given our history. It might, to some people, Vanessa admitted. But who cares? We know what it means. They stood together in the afternoon sunlight. Two people who had journeyed far from their shared beginnings, now reunited by common purpose. The moment felt significant somehow, as if they were closing one chapter and opening another. Over the next 3 months, the youth center transformed from a construction site to a vibrant reality. Vanessa worked closely with the designers on the interior spaces, ensuring each room felt welcoming and purposeful. The old basketball court beneath the main gym had inspired a design feature that everyone loved. A glass-protected section of the original flooring was preserved in the entrance hall, with a plaque explaining its significance as part of the Jefferson Street Rec Center. One of Vanessa's favorite additions was the Dream Wall, a massive interactive display where community members could write their aspirations and goals. She hoped it would inspire generations of young people to think beyond their current circumstances, to envision futures limited only by imagination. As the opening day approached, media interest in the project intensified. Local news did features on the center's programs. Sports outlets covered Michael's involvement. Some stories mentioned Vanessa, usually describing her as a former classmate of Jordan's who now works at their old high school. The simplified descriptions amused her. How could anyone reduce 40 years of life to a single sentence? But she understood that this wasn't about her personal story. It was about what the center would mean for Wilmington's youth. David had become involved too, offering his construction expertise when issues arose with the building. He and Michael had developed an easy rapport, sometimes teasing Vanessa about her perfectionist tendencies with the project. Between the two of you, David told her one evening, I'm not sure who's more obsessed with getting every detail right. He is, Vanessa said without hesitation. Have you seen him inspecting the gym floors? 3 times he's had them refinished because the shine wasn't perfect. David laughed. Maybe that's why you two got along so well back then. Same drive. It was true, Vanessa realized. Despite their different paths, she and Michael shared a fundamental quality: the determination to do things right, to make a meaningful impact. This understanding deepened 2 weeks before the opening, when Vanessa arrived at the center to find Michael already there, sitting alone in the now-completed main gym. Everything okay? She asked, joining him on the bleachers. Just thinking, he said, looking around the space, about what this place might have meant to me as a kid. Somewhere to belong, to grow. to be challenged. It would have made a difference. Vanessa agreed. I had my family, Michael continued. My parents believed in me, pushed me. But not every kid has that. Some need to find that belief somewhere else. Vanessa nodded, thinking of the many students she'd counseled over the years who lacked supportive homes. That's why we're including the mentorship program. Sometimes one caring adult can change everything for a child. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts about the impact the center might have. Did I tell you? Dion's going to speak at the opening, Vanessa said eventually. Your robotics student? Michael looked interested. What about? What the center will mean for kids like him. He's already planning to use the workshop space for a robotics club he wants to start. Michael smiled. I'd like to meet him. You will? He nearly fainted when I told him you'd be there. Fame has its uses sometimes. Michael chuckled. If it gets kids excited about the center, I'll sign autographs all day. As they walked through the building, checking final details, Vanessa marveled at how far they'd come since that first email she'd sent on a whim. What had started as a simple hello had evolved into something neither of them could have predicted. A partnership that would impact countless young lives. The night before the grand opening, Vanessa couldn't sleep. She stood at her kitchen window, gazing out at the moonlit yard. David found her there, gently placing his hands on her shoulders. Nervous about tomorrow? He asked. A little, she admitted. There will be so many people. Cameras. I'm not used to that kind of attention. You'll be great, David assured her. Just focus on what matters. The kids who will benefit from all your hard work. Vanessa leaned back against him, grateful for his steadfast support. Have I told you lately how lucky I am to have you? Yes, but I never get tired of hearing it, he replied, echoing words he'd said many times over their years together. As she finally drifted off to sleep that night, Vanessa thought about the journey that had led to this moment. From a teenage girl watching a determined boy practice basketball, to a woman standing beside one of the world's most famous athletes, creating something bigger than either of them. Tomorrow would bring speeches and ceremonies, cameras and crowds. But beneath all that would be the simple truth that had started it all. The belief that every young person deserved someone who saw their potential, who believed in their future. That was the real legacy they were creating. Not a building with her name on it, but the countless lives that would be touched by what happened inside. What Vanessa couldn't know was that the opening ceremony would hold one final surprise, a moment that would move not just her, but everyone present. The morning of the grand opening dawned clear and bright, a perfect spring day in Wilmington. Vanessa arrived early at the center, wanting a few quiet moments before the crowds arrived. The building looked magnificent. Banners hung from the entrance proclaiming, "Welcome to the Vanessa Mitchell Youth Center." Seeing her name displayed so prominently still felt surreal, but she was beginning to accept the honor with grace rather than embarrassment. Inside, everything was ready. The basketball courts gleamed under the lights. The computer lab hummed with new equipment. The workshop spaces were stocked with tools and supplies. Even the community kitchen smelled wonderful, as local restaurants had prepared refreshments for the reception. "It's perfect," said a voice behind her. Vanessa turned to see Michael, dressed in a sharp navy suit, looking around with the same wonder she felt. "It really is," she agreed. "I can hardly believe we did all this in less than a year." "You did most of it," Michael corrected her. "I just wrote the checks." "That's not true, and you know it." Vanessa smiled. This has been a true partnership from the beginning. They walked through the building together, making one final check before the doors opened to the public. In the entrance hall, a space had been prepared for the class ring display, though the display case itself was covered with a cloth for the big reveal. Nervous? Michael asked as they paused there. A little, Vanessa admitted. Public speaking isn't exactly my favorite thing. You'll be great, he assured her. Just speak from the heart. By 10 o'clock, the center was filling with guests. Local officials, school representatives, community members, and media all crowded. Into the main gymnasium, where chairs had been set up facing a small stage, Vanessa's family sat in the front row. David gave her a thumbs up as she peeked out from the side of the stage. Kira and Jason had both come home for the event, along with Jason's wife and their 2 children. Seeing them there, supporting her, gave Vanessa the courage she needed. In the second row sat James and Dolores Jordan, now in their 80s but still regal in their appearance. Michael's siblings were there too, along with his children and their families. It touched Vanessa deeply that his entire family had come to support the project. A murmur went through the crowd as Michael Jordan stepped onto the stage. No matter how many years passed, his presence still commanded attention. He approached the microphone with the same confidence he had always shown on the basketball court. "Good morning, Wilmington," he began, his deep voice filling the gym. "It's good to be home." The crowd applauded warmly. Michael spoke briefly about growing up in Wilmington, about the community that had shaped him, about his desire to give back to the place where his journey began. "Today we're opening more than just a building," he continued. "We're creating a space where young people can discover their potential, where they can be supported, challenged, and believed in." He went on to describe the center's programs and facilities, acknowledging the team that had brought the vision to life. Then his tone changed, becoming more personal. "When I first thought about this project, I knew I needed someone who understood this community, who knew what our young people need. Someone who has dedicated their life to helping kids find their path." Michael gestured toward the side of the stage. "That's why I asked Vanessa Mitchell to join me in creating this center. Many of you know her as a counselor at Laney High School. What you might not know is that she was also one of the first people who ever believed in me." Vanessa took a deep breath and walked onto the stage, smiling nervously at the applause. Michael continued, "Vanessa and I were classmates at Laney, back when I was just a skinny kid who got cut from the varsity team." A ripple of laughter went through the crowd. Everyone knew that story. "She used to watch me practice for hours after school, when I was determined to prove Coach Herring wrong," Michael said, a gentle nostalgia in his voice. "She believed I could do it before anyone else did. That kind of belief can change a person's life. That's what we want to offer every young person who walks through these doors." Vanessa spoke next, her initial nervousness fading as she talked about her vision for the center. She explained how the programs had been designed to address the real needs she saw in her students every day. Not just academic support, but emotional guidance, practical skills, and a sense of belonging. "This center isn't about making every kid a sports star or a straight-A student," she said. "It's about helping each young person discover their unique gifts and build a future they can be proud of. It's about telling them, 'We see you. We believe in you. We're here for you.'" Her simple, heartfelt words resonated with the audience. When she introduced Dion, the young man approached the microphone with obvious nervousness, but spoke eloquently about what the center would mean for students like him. "Places like this change lives," he concluded. "They tell you that your dreams matter, that you matter. And sometimes, that's all you need to hear." After several more speakers, including the mayor and the superintendent of schools, Michael returned to the microphone for what everyone assumed would be closing remarks. "Before we cut the ribbon and officially open this center, there's one more thing I want to share with you," he said. something personal that represents what this place stands for. He beckoned Vanessa back to the stage, then walked to the covered display case in the entrance hall, visible to everyone through the open doors. When Vanessa and I were seniors at Laney, I gave her my class ring, Michael said, his voice carrying clearly. Back then, it was a promise between two young people. Today, it represents something bigger. A promise to the youth of Wilmington that we believe in them just as Vanessa believed in me. With that, he removed the cloth covering the display case. Inside, nestled on a bed of blue velvet, was the Laney High School class ring, gleaming gold under the lights. The crowd murmured, touched by the gesture. But Michael wasn't finished. He turned to Vanessa, his expression suddenly serious. "There's something I haven't told you," he said, his voice softer but still captured by the microphone. "Something I've kept to myself all these years." Vanessa looked at him, puzzled. Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object, a gold chain. The same kind of chain she had once worn his ring on. "When you returned the ring to me that first year of college, I understood why," he said. "We were on different paths, but I made myself a promise that day. I promised I would keep this ring as a reminder, not of what I lost, but of what I had been given. The gift of someone's belief." His words were directed at Vanessa, but the entire audience hung on every word, sensing the importance of the moment. "I told myself that someday, when I had done enough to deserve it, I would find a way to honor that gift," Michael continued. "This center is part of keeping that promise. But there's one more thing I need to do." With that, Michael carefully opened the display case and removed the ring. He held it up for everyone to see. "This ring isn't just a piece of high school memorabilia," he said. "It's a symbol of how one person's belief can change everything. And that's why I'd like to present it now, not just as a display for the center, but as something more meaningful." Vanessa stood very still, not knowing what was coming next, but feeling the weight of the moment. Around her, the crowd was utterly silent, all eyes on Michael Jordan as he prepared to reveal his final surprise. Michael held the class ring carefully between his fingers, the gold catching the light, as all eyes in the gymnasium focused on him. "I'd like to tell you all a story," he said, his voice now intimate despite the large crowd. "One that most people don't know." He glanced at Vanessa, a reassuring smile softening his features before he continued. "When I was cut from the varsity team at Laney, it was the first real failure of my life. I went home that day and cried in my room. I didn't want anyone to see how much it hurt." The audience was completely silent, captivated by this personal glimpse behind the legend. "The next day, I started practicing harder than ever, hours and hours every day. Most of that time, I was alone, but not always." Michael looked at Vanessa again. Sometimes Vanessa would stop by the court on her way home. She didn't make a big deal about it. She'd just sit on the bench, maybe do some homework, and occasionally offer a word of encouragement. Vanessa felt a lump forming in her throat as she remembered those afternoons. They had seemed so ordinary at the time, yet they had clearly meant something profound to Michael. One day, after a particularly frustrating practice, I asked her why she bothered watching, why she thought I could make it when Coach Herring obviously didn't. Michael's voice grew softer. "Do you remember what you said, Nessa?" Vanessa shook her head slightly, the memory not coming immediately. "You said, because you don't just play basketball, you love it. And people who love something that much find a way to succeed." Michael smiled at the memory. Simple words, but they stuck with me. Through every challenge, every setback in my career, I remembered that. The power of loving what you do. The audience was spellbound. Parents, children, officials, reporters, all focused intently on the man who had become a global icon, but was speaking now as simply a person recalling a meaningful moment from his youth. When I gave Vanessa this ring in our senior year, it was a personal promise between us, Michael continued. But today, I wanted to represent a different kind of promise. A promise to every young person who comes through the doors of this center. He turned to face the audience directly. I kept this ring all these years as a reminder that even legends need someone to believe in them first. That's what this center is about. Being that first person who sees potential, who offers belief before there's any proof, who says, "I see something special in you," when no one else does. Michael took a few steps closer to Vanessa, the ring still held carefully in his hand. After high school, our paths went in different directions. Vanessa stayed here in Wilmington, dedicating her life to helping young people find their way. I traveled the world, played basketball, built businesses, but we both carried the same core belief that every person has value, has potential, has something unique to offer. He gestured around the gymnasium. That's why this isn't the Michael Jordan Youth Center, because it isn't about me, or my success, or my legacy. It's about the quiet work of believing in people before they become anything special. The kind of work Vanessa has done every day for 30 years. Vanessa felt tears threatening, but she blinked them back, not wanting to cry in front of so many people. So today, Michael continued, I want to present this ring not as a personal memento, but as the first artifact in what I hope will become a tradition at this center. He walked to a previously unnoticed display case near the stage, larger than the one that had held the ring. Inside were empty shelves with small placards. Each year, Michael explained, we will add to this belief wall with symbols of promise and potential, items that represent moments when someone believed in a young person who came through these doors, moments that changed lives. He placed the ring carefully on the top shelf, where a placard read, Michael Jordan's Class Ring, a symbol of first belief. This ring represents where the idea for this center began, with one person believing in another. Michael's voice carried throughout the now silent gym. Vanessa believed in me when it wasn't obvious I'd become anything special. That belief mattered. It made a difference. And that's what we want to offer every child who comes here. The simplicity and sincerity of his words touched everyone present. This wasn't about celebrity or charity. It was about the fundamental human need to be seen, to be valued, to be believed in. Vanessa stepped forward, deeply moved by the gesture. Thank you, Michael, she said, her voice steady despite her emotion. This means more than I can say. She turned to address the audience. When Michael first contacted me about this project, I never imagined it would become something so meaningful. But standing here today, I see that this center isn't just about facilities or programs. It's about continuing a circle of belief that started long ago on a Wilmington basketball court. Vanessa looked out at the faces watching her. Her family, Michael's family, former students, community members, people who had shaped both their lives in different ways. I accepted the honor of having my name on this building because Michael convinced me it stood for something important: the power of seeing potential in others. Today, I want to invite all of you to join us in that mission. To be the person who believes in a child, who sees their gifts, who helps them find their path. As she spoke, Vanessa noticed Dion in the audience, listening intently. Beside him were other students she had counseled over the years, some now adults with children of their own. The sight filled her with a deep sense of purpose and continuity. That's how we change lives, she concluded simply, one act of belief at a time. The applause that followed was thunderous. As it subsided, Michael joined Vanessa at the microphone for the official ribbon cutting. Together, they wielded the large ceremonial scissors, and with a single cut, the Vanessa Mitchell Youth Center was officially open. People streamed forward to tour the facility, to see the programs, to sign up as volunteers or participants. The energy was palpable, a community embracing a new resource, a new beginning. Amid the crowd, Michael found a moment to speak privately with Vanessa. "Thank you," he said simply, "for everything. For then, for now." "Thank you for remembering," Vanessa replied, "for turning a teenage memory into something that will help so many." They were interrupted by Vanessa's grandchildren, eager to show her the basketball court. As she was led away, Vanessa glanced back at Michael, who was now surrounded by children asking for autographs. The sight made her smile. The global superstar still had time for the kids of Wilmington. Later that afternoon, as the crowds began to thin, Vanessa found herself standing alone by the belief wall, looking at Michael's class ring in its new home. The simple gold band represented so much more than she had ever realized. Not just a teenage romance long past, but a moment of connection that had somehow endured through all the years and changes. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see David. He slipped his arm around her waist, looking at the display. "Quite a day," he said softly. "Quite a day," she agreed, leaning against him gratefully. "You know what I keep thinking?" David asked. "How lucky those kids are. The ones who'll come here. To have people like you and Michael creating a place for them." Vanessa smiled up at her husband. "Lucky is what I am. To have had the chance to make a difference. To have had people who believed in me too." As they walked together through the center that now bore her name, Vanessa felt a profound sense of completion. The email she had sent on a whim almost a year ago had led to this moment. A full-circle journey that none could have predicted. Outside, the spring sun was beginning to set over Wilmington, casting long shadows across the new building. In the distance, Vanessa could just make out the spire of Laney High School, where her story with Michael had begun so many years ago. She took a deep breath of the warm Carolina air, filled with the scent of new beginnings. The past had given them a foundation. The present had given them purpose. And the future. The future was as full of promise as the youth they hoped to serve. Michael's reply to her email had indeed shocked everyone, though not in the way tabloid headlines might have suggested. It wasn't about rekindling old flames or dramatic confessions. It was about something far more meaningful, the lasting power of belief, and how a single moment of faith could echo across decades, touching countless lives along the way. Orsmarin Wanan families continued to explore the center as children tested the basketball courts and computer labs. As volunteers signed up for programs, Vanessa knew that the true story was just beginning. Not her story with Michael. That chapter had closed beautifully today. But the stories of all the young people who would find guidance, support, and belief within these walls for generations to come. And that was the most precious gift of all. That was the end of this story about Michael Jordan and Vanessa Mitchell's unexpected reconnection. Where are you listening from? We'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this heartwarming tale about second chances and the power of belief, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more such interesting stories. Don't forget to share with your friends and family to spread kindness and awareness. Every share helps us reach more people with these meaningful stories that remind us how small moments of belief can change lives forever. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.